Shield Canine. So this is going to be our level 3 puppy training video. You may have seen our first video. Unfortunately, due to some sound and camera issues, it was a new camera, where we had to shoot the video again. So hopefully this one's better and it's a little bit more clear for you. Talk a little bit about all the things that you need to know for your puppy that's been trained through level 3. I didn't train this puppy, one of my trainers trained this puppy, but I like using dogs that I haven't trained for instructional videos because generally the dog is more prone to make mistakes with me because I'm not the dog's handler, and it's going to be more realistic for what you're going to be dealing with as your dog's new handler. So this is a 6-month-old puppy. She's gone through all the age-appropriate socialization, exposure. You know, she's had the crate training, she's had the house training, she's had all the functional commands put on her. Sit, down, stay, come, place, kennel, heeling, and leash walking, all right? And I'm going to go through all of that and, you know, ensure that you know how to, you know, operate all those commands and ensure that they're maintained properly. But there's a couple of management items to go over first. The most important thing for your success with this dog, in living with this dog and in coexisting with this dog and having a good working relationship with this dog, is your management, because she's young, right? And any puppy you get in and around the 6-month mark or younger is going to require a heck of a lot of management. If you think of it anthropomorphically, human child, 5-6-year-old human child. What are you going to do? Are you going to just leave that kid to their own devices? You're not going to give them any supervision. You're not going to set things up in your home and, you know, in your outings in such a way that the child can't get into any trouble. It's the same with the puppy, all right? Don't just leave them to their own devices and hope for good outcomes. We want to give this dog the necessary management, guidance, supervision, and also opportunity for her to grow as a dog so that things can work well for her and so that she can develop in an optimal way, all right? So I'm going to start in the home because that's generally where the puppy goes first, is into your home. So when you bring this dog to your home, if you just take this puppy into your home and release her into the house and just leave her to her own devices, let her do whatever it is that she wants to do, you're going to run into a little bit of problems. Just like if you took a 5-year-old to a strange place and just said, hey, go have fun, make good decisions, it's not going to work out. All right, it's the same with a puppy. All right, so what we want to do is we want to use the functional obedience that the puppy has to manage her properly. And we want to use certain things like the place, the crate, you know, and supervision to ensure that the puppy has, like I said before, optimal success in your home. So in the beginning, my puppy does not wander my house ever. All right, I bring the puppy home, puppy goes on the place command as you see here. If I don't have time to deal with the puppy because I'm going to work or I'm going to bed or I'm just not home, puppy's going to be in the crate. All right, this puppy has been crate trained. You know, she can do 8 hours in a crate. You know, she does just fine. She's nice and quiet in the crate. She's very confident and comfortable going into the crate. So you're going to maintain that. For me personally, I don't leave my dogs loose out of a crate until they're at least 10 months to a year of age, right, when I'm not home. It's just, for me, they're not mentally mature enough for me to fully trust them. And dogs are creatures of habit. I don't want her picking up bad habits. So I'm just going to play it safe. I'm going to crate the dog when I'm not home and when I'm not able to supervise her. Now, when I am home, I'm going to utilize the place command. More in the beginning, and then later on, I'll just use it strategically. Okay, so in the beginning, she's going to be on place. And the reason why is if she's wandering, if I take my eyes off of her, maybe she's going to pick up a shoe and start chewing it. Maybe she's going to pee on a rug. She hasn't done any of these things, but we're just going to play it safe and ensure that we always know where she is. The great thing about the place command is it gives you the ability to situate the dog without restraining the dog. Okay, so the place command is really important. Now, as the puppy gets more used to my house, I'm going to let her off place more and more and just kind of let her wander around the house and be with me. Now, if she starts getting a little too excitable, she's jumping around too much, she's getting a little too rambunctious, I'm going to send her back to the place. I do not allow crazy puppy in the house. Okay, a lot of people think it's funny that their puppy tears around the house. I don't allow that. There's never a time when I want my young dogs racing around my house or playing rough in the house, ever. That stuff can all happen outside. Indoors, we're on place, or if we're walking around the house, we're walking nice and slow, we're super relaxed, we're lying on the floor, we're nurturing that calm, relaxed behavior in the home. Okay, so if the puppy gets excited and rambunctious like they do, go to your place, calm down over there, and then maybe you can try letting her off a little bit later when she's relaxed. When you have guests come over, she's on her place. She's not meeting people at the door. Okay? Oh, check out the new puppy, friends, come on over, right? Don't have her at the door jumping on the new people coming in. She's on the place, okay? And then when they come in and she kind of gets used to them, everybody's relaxed and calm, then you can allow her off the place to meet the company if that's what you're so inclined to do. Then, like I said, you know, you'll give the puppy more and more freedom as time goes on. By the time the dog's a year, you probably won't use the crate except maybe in select circumstances, and you'll only use the place maybe when you're eating and maybe when you have guests come over. I encourage you to continue to maintain this behavior because it's one of those things where you might need it from time to time, even if the dog is generally very good. Now, let's talk about socialization. The big mistake, this is a young German Shepherd. And German Shepherds go through periods called fear periods. Not all of them, and some of them have them to a greater extent versus others that have them to a lesser extent, but they all to some degree have them, okay? Up to about 14, 16 months they can have them. And basically what a fear period is dog that's normally okay with something, all of a sudden they see something, it causes them to have some apprehension or some suspicion. So example, your dog goes out one day, sees the recycling bin, and is like, oh my God, what's that? And has a little bit of a conniption over it, right? Your dog decides, hey, like that stranger walking down the road is really sketchy. I do not trust them. I'm gonna start barking at him. This is an example of what I'm talking about, okay? So let's talk a little bit about how we manage that. So for me, I don't allow the dog to excessively overreact. So let's say the dog sees a stranger walking down the road, and it's somebody that has every right to be there. It's my neighbor, okay? And my dog sees him and goes, "Woo, woo, 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 woo," right? Well, I'm gonna immediately correct the puppy. No, don't do that, right? Give him a verbal correction. If that doesn't stop the behavior, I might give them a physical correction. I can use the e-collar. I can give them a leash check. Hey, knock it off. It's not appropriate. I don't want that behavior. I let the puppy know that this behavior is not okay. Now, I'm not going to go to the other extreme where I'm like, hey, let's go and try to make her friends with this person. That's not necessary, right? Your dog's level of social ability, your dog's sociability is already genetically predisposed, right? It's already determined, okay? You can make it worse by creating bad experiences, but if you don't create bad experiences, you're not gonna have a problem. And for me, creating bad experiences, the biggest thing a lot of people do is they force interaction, and it actually creates more anxiety because the dog is worried about social contact with that person. They have a belief, whether it's from inexperience and immaturity, that that person represents a physical threat to them. So the worst thing that you can do is say, hey, stranger that my dog's afraid of, come here and try to pet my dog and give my dog a treat. Even if the dog after a while gets over it, what they imprint on is that first interaction. So we want to make sure that we're not causing any issues. So I'm going to be like, hey man, you can't bark. You can't overreact to that guy. But on the flip side, hey man, that's a really cool puppy. Can I pet your puppy? No, sorry, she's in training right now. So it's really important that we prevent the puppy from having stressful experiences. It's the same with other dogs. I never allow my dogs to meet strange dogs. Hey, my dog's friendly. Is your dog friendly? No, he's not. Even if he is. And I'm going to explain to you why, right? I limit interaction, not just with strange dogs, but also with strange people. Even if I have a dog who's more socially inclined. One of two things can happen. Either something bad can happen with that strange dog or strange person that stresses my dog out and creates inappropriate fear and stress in relation to strangers. That's not going to help me if my dog, when they're walking down the street, is always worried about other dogs and other people. Or my dog's really happy-go-lucky and loves interacting with those strange dogs and those strange people, and it creates an excessive fixation because the dog finds it super rewarding to interact with those strangers. So now the dog's always looking for it, like, oh my God, it's going to be so fun. Please let me interact with those strangers. We don't want any of that, okay? I want my dog to be neutral. They walk down the street, people, strange dogs, they don't mean anything, all right? If my puppy, and it's typical, young German Shepherds especially, they like to kind of overreact sometimes. Whoa, 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 hey, knock it off. None of that. Come on, good girl, right? You give her a little bit of positive when she's able to stop the behavior, and you just give her that consistency. A lot of people just stand there passively while their dog's freaking out on strangers, while their puppy's barking at another dog. You know, they try to, shh, it's okay. Don't do any of that nonsense. Hey, stop it. It's not appropriate. Come on, let's go, right? Be quick, be firm, and be consistent. Don't try to nurture away bad behavior, right? Even if the behavior is caused by something understandable, like a fear period, like a young dog who's inexperienced and who's developing, right? It's still, we never ever nurture that bad behavior. So, dog parks, by the way, terrible idea. Never go into a dog park. Dog parks are like Fight Club. Everyone thinks the dogs are having fun because their tails are wagging. A dog's tail wags because they're aroused. And arousal, you'll notice when dogs fight, their tails wag. And when dogs chase a ball, their tail wag. And when the dogs bite me, their tails wag, right? Dogs' tails wag whenever they're aroused, all right? It's not necessarily a good thing, all right? Most dogs are happy to go to the dog park because it's the only time they ever get off leash. Your puppy is already trained off leash. Find safe places where, if you live in the city, find safe places that you can let them go and have a good time. The dog park is a place where they can catch a lot of parasites, diseases, and have negative social interactions. There's so many bad things that happen in the dog park. So many clients bring me dogs that have had bad experiences in the dog park. It's a place where there's complete lack of control, and it's not natural for a dog to want to interact and have multiple social interactions with dogs that are completely strange to him or her. Now listen, if your friend who visits you twice a week has a dog, sure, you could try and pair them up and introduce them slowly. If you have a dog in your home already, also it's important for your puppy to have a good relationship with your dogs that you have in your home. In the beginning, when you bring your puppy into your home, if you have existing dogs or cats, do not allow your puppy to harass them. Puppies are harassers. That's what they do. That's how they know how to interact with their environment. They like jumping on things and biting things and pawing things. All right? Same with small children. If you have small children, don't allow I know everyone's like, oh, it's so cute. And then next thing you know, oh, he's nipping Sally's clothes, or he's jumping on little Johnny and trying to take his toys away. It's like, no. Your puppy's on place, okay? Your puppy is not allowed to be rough, whether it's with people or with other dogs in your house. Your puppy's not allowed to play in an excessive way. Your puppy is on place in the beginning. And if your puppy gets, like with my 2-year-old son, my dogs know, hey, no rough stuff with him, right? Even though sometimes he wants to get rambunctious, I always say, hey, knock it off, right? This is how puppies play. They play with their mouth. They play with their paws that have sharp claws on them, right? So your dog is not going to, if you have an older dog especially, it's not going to appreciate that, and it's going to cause relationship issues. Don't allow your puppy to do that kind of stuff. Now, I think I've covered that stuff. Let's talk a little bit, potty training. So your puppy's potty trained, but things that you obviously should be doing. Don't feed your puppy a big meal and then put him to bed for 10 hours, okay? Like simple, common sense kind of stuff. You want to feed, for me, if I'm feeding raw, I feed once a day. If I'm feeding kibble, I feed twice a day, all right? Feed well before you put the puppy to bed. Give them their last drink. You know, if you're going to bed at 11, give the puppy the last drink at like 7. Okay, that way you have 3 hours, everything works its way through. Your puppy does a potty break outside, and then you can put your puppy in the kennel. Okay, so in the beginning, your puppy doesn't know your house, your puppy doesn't know your yard. Take your puppy out frequently in the beginning on the leash so your puppy can get used to being in your yard, going to the bathroom. When your puppy goes to the bathroom, tell him or her that she's a good boy, or he's a good boy, or she's a good girl. You know, give him a treat. Reinforce that behavior. It's really good to go out here, just so that the puppy, the first impression that they have of this new place is a good impression. Let's talk a little bit about the commands and the communication, all right? So there's two things. There's commands. Commands are, obviously things that I tell the puppy that I expect the puppy to do. And then there's communication. How do I communicate with the puppy, okay? So communication. There are markers that you need to know, okay? So first marker, chip. It means positive reinforcement. When I say chip, the dog knows that she is going to get something nice. Whether it's food, whether it's a toy, she knows she's going to get something nice. Then there's no. No means you did a bad thing, stop doing it immediately, you're gonna get corrected. So when I say chip, you'll notice I give the dog a piece of food. Think of chip as like taking a picture. I just took a picture of that behavior that you did and I reinforced that behavior with a positive reward, okay? Now, no works the same way for bad behavior. So let's say I live in a suburban neighborhood, my dog's barking out the window, okay? She's far away, she's 50 feet away from me. I'm in a big house, I'm all the way across the house. She goes off the window, and I hate that behavior, I don't like it. So I say, no! And then I come over there and I correct the puppy. Even if the puppy stopped barking by the time I got there, she heard no when she was doing the bad thing. Again, I took a picture of that behavior. Maybe I give her, a leash correction, maybe I give her a little swat on the ear, something. Let her know, hey, I don't like that behavior. If she's wearing an e-collar, maybe I said no and delivered an e-collar correction, right? Either way, the puppy's real clear. Hey, that's an undesirable behavior. Now, there are other forms of communication. For me, if I don't have food, or maybe I don't reward the dog always with food. I give a lot of praise. Good girl, good. Look at the tail, right? Dog likes that. She's happy when she hears that. High-pitched, meaningful praise. You don't have to just always give the dog something. You could just give the dog praise. Good job. A little bit of pets. Every puppy likes that. Every dog likes that. All right? It's a big part of the relationship. And then, if the dog's making a mistake in the obedience. So let's say I told the dog to sit. The dog was sitting, but then she got up without my permission. I'll say, ah. And for me, ah is like, hey, you're screwing up. Stop that. Okay? No for me is like, no is like the big mistake. Like you jumped on the counter. No, you jumped on somebody. No, that's the big mistake. Ah is like the obedience mistake. I asked you to do something obedience-wise. You've made a small mistake. Ah is the notification that you've screwed up. Okay? There may or may not be correction associated with that. And what I mean by that is this. If I say ah and the dog immediately fixes herself because she just had a puppy moment, she got a little bit distracted and she forgot what she was supposed to be doing and she fixes herself, great. But if I notice that she's kind of like, let's say I tell her to down and she gets up, okay? I say ah down, she goes back down. And then she gets up again 3 seconds later and I say ah down. And we just keep doing this. Well, what does ah mean? Ah doesn't mean anything. It just means, oh, this guy's just blabbering again. Meaningless blabber, right? I need to attach meaning. Just like if I say chip and I didn't reward the puppy, right? I need to attach meaning to everything I say. Chip means always there's a piece of food. I don't say it if I don't have something to give her, whether it's a toy or whether it's a piece of food. Same thing for up. So if she's in a down and she gets up, down. And then next time she gets up, right, and she's going to get the e-collar correction or a leash correction. Right? Or maybe I'll grab her very firmly on the collar and put her down and I let her know, hey, I'm not screwing around, I mean it. Stop doing that. Okay? So this is the communication. So let's go over it again. Positive reinforcement. Okay? Good girl. Praise. Okay? Ah, that's for making an obedience mistake. And no, that's for making a big behavioral error. So for instance, I'm walking my puppy outside, she sees somebody, the neighbor, and she's like, rah, 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 rah. No, stop it, right? And no can be followed by an e-collar correction. So if your puppy's been, well, it's a level 3 puppy, so it's been trained to the e-collar. The e-collar correction, if you have your puppy on a leash, you can give the leash a quick snap, right? So just quickly. I know I covered this in my level 2. Watch my level 2 puppy training video and my level 1, because we cover this. A leash correction looks like this. A lot of people pull on the leash. That's not a leash correction. When you're using the leash to correct the dog, you're basically making the collar slap the dog. Like that. Right? It's almost like you're cracking a whip. No! No! Right? So, this is how you would correct the dog. Now, for me, I'm not afraid of physical corrections. These devices we use, they make corrections easy. E-collar especially at a distance, right? But for me, if I have my hands on my puppy, I have no problem to correct my puppy. No! And I'll grab the puppy a little bit by the ear. Hey, stop that. People are like, oh, it's going to make the puppy hand shy. Absolute nonsense. You watch my dogs that I train, that I compete with, I correct every one of those dogs with my hand, with, just as I do with devices, and there's no hand shyness because everything makes sense. Dogs that become hand shy, if you're doing things randomly, if you're inconsistent, Everything you do has to be consistent. It has to make sense. You have to be firm and fair. The rules don't change. They're always in the same place. I don't move the goalposts. All right? People that run into problems with dogs being afraid, and it's because they're not being consistent with the dog. The dog isn't quite sure what's right and what's wrong. It's that insecurity that brings the fear. We want to make sure that we're always very consistent with the dog in terms of everything that we do. Now let's talk a little bit about the e-collar before we get into the commands. The e-collar is your insurance policy. This is how I want you to think of it. Now I have a video on the e-collar, how to use it, how to fit it to your dog, and the functions of the mini educator, which is the collar that we use with all our dogs, and the collar that you're getting with your puppy. I'm going to link that video in the description below, and also you're going to see one of those cards above here so that you can go to that video and get into all the functions. I'm not going to get into it right now because we don't really have time. Suffice to say, just a couple quick things. When you use, the reason why we use the e-collar with your dog or with your puppy, right, is it's your insurance policy. There's no other device that lets you reach out and touch a dog at a distance. You can't outrun your dog. Your dog's a lot faster than you. In many cases, your dog's stronger than you, okay? You need the ability to reach out and hold your dog accountable for something he or she already knows, all right? This device allows you to always have a level of accountability with your dog that wouldn't exist otherwise. Now, there's a lot of people out there that, oh, I don't need that, I just use positive reinforcement. Here's the problem with that, and here's where it all falls apart. It's this thing called competing motivators. The world is full of different things, okay? People that believe in positive only training believe that the dog will give up all that other stuff, the squirrels, the bunnies, the cars, the other dogs, for this piece of food, okay? And there are some very food motivated dogs that will give up some of that stuff, but there's no dog that will give it all up all the time, okay? So competing motivators are everywhere. And if you want a dog who's reliable under heavy distraction, that listens to you all the time and every time, you need to have motivation. Yeah, it's nice to do things for me, but you also need to have a sense of obligation. Hey, I have to do it. The other thing as well, right? People make the assumption. There's this big assumption. It's the strangest assumption out there if you really think about it. It's really spread a lot by positive only force-free training kind of advocates and the emotional people that believe in that type of stuff. It's kind of like a utopian ideology, okay? If the dog knows what you want, the dog will always do what you want. Now, if you know anything about dogs or any living creature, horse, human, right? You know that that's not true. There's think about your kids if you have kids. Do your kids always do what you want? When they know what the right thing is, do they always make the right choice? Of course not, because they have their own mind and they have their own decisions that they want to make and they want to self-satisfy. Your dog is even more inclined to that than your children are. Your dog is not cerebral. Your dog is a creature of instinct, okay? Instinct, especially genetic instinct. So your dog sees a squirrel run away, well, no, he's going to pick your liver treat over the squirrel. Now listen, don't get me wrong, some dogs will. But maybe that same dog that'll pick the liver treat over the squirrel says, ooh, female dog, I'm going to go see her because that's way more important to me than the liver treat. And guess what? I'm not starving. I get food in my bowl twice a day. All right? There's always going to be something in your dog's life that's more interesting for the dog than doing whatever it is that you want him or her to do, regardless of whether he or she knows the right thing from the wrong thing. So it's really important to have that accountability. That's why we have the results that we do with our dogs, both in terms of functional obedience, protection training, service training, sport training, is because the dogs have the motivation, but also the obligation. This is your insurance policy. Now in the beginning, you'll find that you use it more because your dog doesn't have any existing relationship with you. Your dog doesn't have any sense of consistency with you, okay? You'll use it more, but then if you're doing things properly, you'll find that you're using it less till after a while, this is in your pocket, and once in a while you pull it out if you absolutely have to under certain circumstances. With the collar, I want you to think of it in terms, people always ask me, what number should I use on the collar? What level? Levels don't matter. The response of the dog matters. The level can change depending on the situation. So if your dog's chasing a bunny versus if your dog's in a room where she's relatively relaxed and there's no distractions, right? So maybe in this room where there's no distractions, our levels well, it's not maybe, for sure, our level is significantly lower versus we're outside and there's squirrels running everywhere. Well, guess what? My level is going to be a lot higher because the arousal of the dog is going to be higher. So think of your level kind of like as a noise. If I'm talking to you, if you're listening to me, I'm going to talk to you in a normal voice. If you're not listening, I'm going to raise my voice. The e-collar is the same thing. Now, the mistake a lot of people make with this collar is they henpeck the dog. And by henpecking, I mean they're always just kind of tapping the dog on low levels. And it's enough to get the dog in the moment to behave, but it doesn't keep the dog behaving. The dog keeps kind of testing the training, getting up out of positions, leaving the heel, so on and so forth. And that's because people never stop henpecking. They're just always on that low level because it makes them feel good and they feel like they're being somehow more humane. For me, once the dog knows, once the dog has a good relationship with me, I expect things to always be good. So for instance, let's say I have a dog who likes to leave the heeling position. The dog's in the heel and says, you know, on the regular, anytime I see something on the ground, forget your heel, I'm gone, right? And I tap the dog and the dog's like, you know what, I'm still gonna keep making this bad choice. Well, guess what, real quick, I'm gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna jack this thing up. And now you're gonna get a high level because you know better. The dog leaves, no, or sorry, not no. You're gonna say, ah, big correction, woo! Dog's gonna fix herself or himself, and real quick, you're gonna have a dog who doesn't test the training. If you find your dog is testing the training a lot, I'm talking down the road, I'm not talking when you first get your puppy, okay? I wanna be very clear about that. Down the road, couple of months. If your dog's really testing a lot, you need to escalate the intensity of your correction. If you're using this all the time on every walk, a couple months down the road, you're doing something wrong. And usually what it is there's not enough accountability. I don't want to use this constantly. If I have to use it constantly, there's something wrong, okay? Now, in the beginning, this is a puppy, okay? I'm not going to hold them to the same level of accountability and correctness as I do an older dog. Just like I don't expect the same behavior from a 5-year-old that I do from a 10-year-old, okay? Child. So, I am going to be firm, fair, but I'm also going to keep things within the puppy's ability, all right? So, I'm going to get into commands. I'm going to show you kind of what I'm talking about. I'm going to correct the puppy for mistakes, but I'm also going to reward her, okay? So, the first, I'm going to start everything off the leash, then we'll go on the leash. Can you bound box so you guys can hear my corrections, okay? So, Luna, break. Good. Luna. Good. Sit. Chip. Good. Down. Good. Chip. All right. So a couple things happened there. I said her name. She ran off over there. I said her name. She came when she was called, okay? When I say Luna, I expect the dog to come if she's away. I can say Luna, come. There's nothing wrong with that. But if I say Luna, I expect her to come. I don't expect her to ignore me and pretend I haven't said anything. I asked her to sit. She sat. I asked her to down. She down. I rewarded her for each of those reps. I don't have to. So let me show you again, okay? Break. Luna. Good girl. Sit. All right. Sit. Good. So, I asked her to come. She came. I praised her. Okay? And then I asked her to SIT. She sat. She's in command now. She is to continue to sit until she receives the break signal. The break signal means it's over. Now, she's a puppy. I'm not going to have her sit here for 5 minutes while I walk around the room. It's too much. Keep things within her ability. Break. Good girl. Down. So, command, response, reward. This time I'll reward her. Chip. Now, if I'm not going to reward her with food or a toy, I'll reward her with the praise. So you don't always have to give food. But again, it's a puppy. I like to be very positive with them. I like to really promote the good behaviors. All right? So, command the positional stuff, right? Sitting down. When you ask the dog to sit or to down, she must maintain the position until she's been released from the position. Break. Good. And break is the release signal. Okay? Down. Good. Down means hit the position. If she doesn't down, I'm going to repeat the command, but with a stimulation. Just like if I ask her to sit and she doesn't sit, unless she didn't hear me. Let's say she was like really distracted. I might repeat it and give her a chance, say her name, right? Like if she's break. Luna, down. See, saying her name down. Saying her name really kind of gets her attention. All right, so if she's not really paying attention, I might say her name. If she doesn't pay attention after that, then I'll give her the an electrical correction. So, sitting down, the place command. So for place, I always use these raised surfaces, okay? A pet cot. You can buy these on Amazon. Kuranda Dog Beds also makes more expensive, indestructible versions of these, which are really good. I like it raised from the ground because the dog can always, I can't say place on that mat over there. I can't say place on the floor. Because what is place? For me, place is be on this thing and stay on this thing. Luna, place. Good. Means stay there. And I always tell her good when she does good. Break. Means you can come off. Let's talk about the heel entry. Luna, heel. Good. Come to the left side and sit next to me. All right? Now, if I break her, break, she can leave. Luna, heel. On the left side, sit next. And I like to really reward this one, especially with young dogs, because it's a bit more of a tough command. Now, if I want her to stay next to me, sit. So you can see there, she kind of got a little distracted. She got out of the position. And I just kind of verbally corrected her, told her to hit the position. Now, we're going to start heeling. Good up. Heel. Good. So I'm going to walk her through all these distractions, and she's going to, good job! She's going to stay right next to me. Right? Good. This is what I want. I want this behavior right next to me. Now, a lot of puppies in the beginning, sit. When I stop, I always ask for that sit. Reward the puppy, okay? A lot of puppies in the beginning, especially if they're excited, they might have a little trouble staying next to you. It's a tough command, right? You got to stay next to me as I move under distraction. In the beginning, I suggest you put a piece of food in your hand. It helps. You're still going to correct the puppy if she leaves the position. If you're holding a leash, then hold the leash in your left hand. Don't worry about the food. You can always mark and pull the food out after the mark. Okay? So, command, Luna, heel, and I'm going to start walking slow. That's a big one. A lot of people kind of take off fast. If you have an excited dog and you take off fast, your dog's going to get really excited and probably get way in front of you. You see where she's at in relation to me? Her shoulder and my shoulder are lined up perfectly. That's what I'm looking for. Good girl. And I reward up. You'll notice I never put the food down. The reward's always up, right? If I change direction, I'll remind her, heel. Good. Right? And the dog must stay next to me, whatever it is I'm doing. If she gets out of position, I'm just going to mark with the up. Good. Good job. Right? Good. Ah. There you go. There's a correction. She got distracted by something on the ground. Good. Now, if I want her to leave and go have free time, break. I'll let her go. Break. Go play. Go play. Yeah, she can go. And if I need her to come back to me, I'll call her. Right? Let her do her thing. Wander around. Right? Go get a piece of food. All right. If I need her to come back, Luna, come. Heel. Good. And again, you can see, sit. I use the food to kind of help her to the left side. I could do it without the food, but why? It's a puppy. I need to reinforce this behavior. Always. Right? She's a food-motivated puppy. Now, if your food puppy isn't, sit. Now, here's the thing. She's getting tired. Should I force her to sit much longer? No. I see she's tired. I did fix that mistake because I can't allow her to get into that habit. But now I'm going to say, break. And now she can go and do whatever she wants while I talk. All right? So, keep things within the ability of your puppy. All right? Now, we're going to go outside. I'm going to demonstrate some stuff real quick. Luna, place. All right? I'm going to demonstrate some stuff real quick. I want to talk about passing other dogs. All right? So you'll notice that when I pass other dogs, if my dog looks at the other dog, I'm not worried about that. That's fine. She can look. If she's a little worried, like she's like, whoa, that dog's kind of really aggressive. I'm scared of it. It's big. It's a little scary. That's fine. I'll just encourage her as we go past. Maybe I'll have a piece of food in my hand. I'll still correct her if she tries to leave, right? But that encouragement will really help her get past things that she's a little bit apprehensive about. She's a puppy, and she's young, and she's in a new place. We need to reinforce the correct behavior. So let's watch. I'm going to walk right through these puppies, and you're going to kind of see exactly what I'm talking about. Luna, heel. Good job. Walking slow. Okay. And we'll see if we can't pass the dog here. So here's a puppy here. Good. She didn't even really look that time.
Okay. Yeah.
Good. Good. And you can see there, she kind of checked the ground a little bit because she thought there was something there. But she knows there's food in my left hand. Right? I will correct her if she tries to leave, but she knows there's food. Right? So she always targets. That's a correction. You're not allowed to sniff the ground and heel. Sniffing the ground is when you're released. So here, if I pass this dog, 6 feet of leash. Come on. Good. Good. Right? You can see, she kind of checks away a little bit.
6 feet.
Break.
She'll get all worried.
She checks away a little bit. Luna, down.
4 or 5.
Luna, down. Good. You can see there, distracted puppy moment. Should I blast her? No, I just reminded her, hey, pay attention. Maybe I've corrected her now like 2-3 times. All right? Now, what we're going to do is I'm going to go outside. I'm going to kind of demonstrate walking with this dog, and then we'll go from there. Okay, guys, so we're going to go outside. I'm going to talk a little bit about leash walking because you are going to be doing a fair bit of leash walking if you live in a city. You know, so I'm going to talk a little bit about leash walking, but let's first talk about thresholds. So when you're getting ready to go out, Luna, come here. Down. Good. Down. Good. When you're going to be getting ready to go, usually most people have the front entryway. Put the dog in it down, right? You got your e-collar on her, everything's on her, right? Get your stuff on. She waits in the down. If she gets up, down, right? Now I'm going to talk about the door. Okay, so for me with the door, break. I'm going to open the door. If the dog goes out the door, I'm going to correct her. I'm not going to say anything. Hear that correction? Right? I didn't tell her she can leave. So why is she leaving? Right? That's big for me. Some people, they want the dog to sit. You can do that if it helps you. Luna, sit. Good. Right? Basically, what I want the dog to understand is what I'm doing matters. If I'm leaving and I give you permission to leave, it's fine. But I don't want you just busting out the door. So for me, a lot of the stuff I do is nonverbal. I don't really rely too much on the sit. You know, I'll say, break, and then we'll go to the door. And if she tries to kind of blow through the door, right? Again, she doesn't know me. But if she did know me, she'd know that for me, that's not okay. I don't want good on her own. You're going to find real quick, if you do this on your own, your dog's going to start looking at you when you get to doorways, which is what you want. So now I'm going to look outside. Okay, everything's good. Break. Now we're outside. So for the loose leash walking, basically what I'm looking for is the dog not tractor pulling me. If she makes a little pressure here and there on the leash, again, it's a puppy, I'm not going to worry too much about it. But if she gives me a tractor pull, I'm just going to give the leash a quick snap and a stim at the same time as the snap. All right? So she can do whatever it is that she wants to do. She can be in front of me. She can snuff the ground. She can pee. She can do whatever she wants to do. She just can't pull on me. All right? That's my only rule. So if I'm standing here and she's like, you know, I really want to go 6 inches over there, and she kind of does a tractor pull on me, I'm just going to give the leash a quick snap and a stim at the same time. I should be able to hold the leash in a nice loose way. The second the puppy tries to do a tractor pull on me, we're going to have a problem. Taking tiny pressure, here's a lot. Don't pull me. Good job. Yeah. It's really important. Don't just snap the leash, because your leash is going to be on the flat collar. Right? I want this puppy to, you know, understand that she can explore within the bounds of the leash. She can do whatever she wants as long as she doesn't pull me. As long as she doesn't pull me on the leash, she can do whatever she wants, and that's really important. And if she does kind of start hauling on me, I'm going to give the leash a quick snap and a stim at the same time. If that doesn't stop her, I'll turn the collar up until I find a level where it's enough that it discourages that behavior of pulling. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly run through the recall, okay? So I'm going to get the puppy off the break. Okay, so I'm going to get the puppy off the leash. So now she's kind of running around doing her thing. If I want her to come, I'm going to say, Luna, come, and then I'm going to reward her. Luna, come, jump. Good job. See, collar got undone a little bit. So. right? So again, if I want her to come, I'll tell her, Luna, if she doesn't come right away, I'm going to simmer. Now this is a puppy that I don't have a relationship with. So am I going to take her to a super busy place in the beginning? No, I'm going to take her to a safe place. I'm going to have my finger on the button. I'm going to make sure that I have the ability to quickly intervene if the dog decides she's going to take off after something or not come. My suggestion, don't do this day 1. Do this day 3 or 4, right? Build a relationship a little bit with the puppy. Okay, Luna, come. Chip. And again, always that reward, that praise. You'll notice I move away from her as she comes to me. That's really important. Now, as she comes and I want her to do something, when she gets to me, I'll ask her to do it. Luna, come. Good. Heel. Chip. Okay. Now, if I want her to heel, from here, I'll just repeat. Heel. Good. Okay? And because it's the first heeling, I'll ask her to do some fast, slow. So we'll walk slow, fast, slow, chip. Reward, break, and let the puppy go, okay? Healing, guys. I just want to quickly talk about, don't keep your puppy in it for too long, okay? Keep your puppy just maybe maximum a minute, 2 minutes in healing. No longer than that. Usually I just do a few seconds just to keep them sharp. I don't want them forced to heal for long periods of time. Most of my walk, whether it's on the leash or off the leash, is like this. I can always call her, Luna, chip, yasha papa. Now if we're walking and let's say she sees something. So here I'm going to throw my leash on the ground. Luna, good. And I don't want her to get this leash. So let's say I'm walking, okay? Luna, good. Okay, and she sees the leash. Luna, come. Good. Chip. Let's pretend that leash was a piece of garbage. I just don't want her to touch it, right? That's all I'm going to do. Break. Luna, come. Good. Chip. I don't have to make her do anything. I just have to make her not go there. Luna, good. And now Luna, good. You'll see she doesn't go there anymore, right? It's different and it's interesting. That's why most puppies go to garbage, but she knows she's not allowed to go to it. Same if it's another person or another dog walking by. If she does one of those, like, I want to go to it, I'll just call her. If she ignores me like she did the first time, boop, boop, boop on the e-collar. Okay? Break. Luna. Luna, come. Good. Good. And you can see there, I'm not afraid to repeat the command. Okay? So that time she didn't come right away. You heard me correct, but as I'm correcting her, I'm repeating, come. There's nothing wrong with doing that, okay? Now out here, Luna, heel. Heel. Good, and you can see there, she kind of lay down instead of heel. I just repeated the command and helped her out. Chip, reward, break. Luna, heel. Whenever the dog struggles with something, I always repeat that thing just to make sure the dog understands the right thing. And I help them a little bit with the food. So for instance, let's say my dog struggled with a down. Break, down. I'll help them a little bit with the food, you know? Okay, so let's talk now about some ball play. All right, so let's say you have the ball. Break. Yeah. Okay, throw the ball for her. Second she gets the ball. Luna! Come on. Let's go. Yeah! Come here. And you'll notice I always encourage the dog to bring it to me. Right? Luna! Come. Hey, come here. Luna, come on. Come. Good. And if I ask her to let go, out. Chop. I expect her to drop it. If she doesn't drop it, I'll just buzz her on the collar. Luna! Come on! Yeah! Good job! Good. Come on. Notice with the toy, I always back off and encourage the dog by clapping my hands to bring the toy to me. All right? You can let her win a few times. Come on. Luna, come on. Good. And then when I want her to let go, out. Chop. And throw the toy again. Second she gets it, Luna! And I'll correct her if she doesn't come. Luna, come on. She doesn't like the snowy ball. Come on. I know it's cold. That's it. Yeah. And I don't always make them let go right away. If I do, Why would she bring it to me? Come on. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, super. Out. Ouch. Good. And now we're going to do some healing back. Luna, heel. Oh, good job. Good job. Okay. Good job. Come on. Good. Sit. Good job. Down. Good. All right. If she's in a position and she gets out of the position, I'm just going to mark and repeat the command. Use the e-collar as necessary. I think I've covered everything now, so hopefully you understand. Down. Right? So here I'm going to set her up to fail. Okay, just so you can see what I do with the brake. Oh, she didn't fail. All right, good. So if the dog was to break, I'm just going to mark down. So I threw food, I threw a ball. You know, I guess the trainer did too good of a job. But suffice to say, if she does fail in a position, you're just going to mark immediately, hold the puppy accountable, and then break. And then she can kind of go and do whatever she wants to do. With the kennel, just one quick thing with the kennel. When you're putting the puppy in the kennel, you can throw food in there in the beginning, just because she hasn't been in your kennel, just so she's used to it, right? Luna! Luna, come here. Good. All right, just like that. Get her used to the kennel. You can give her a little bone or something in there that'll help her just be comfortable there. One last thing, with the e-collar, 3-hour rule with the e-collar. I said watch the video and I meant it, but there's a 3-hour rule with the e-collar. Don't leave it on longer than 3 hours. Make sure it's snug. If it is not snug, it will not work properly. She's not, Luna specifically, not a very sensitive puppy, so you'll find that you have to be a little bit higher on the e-collar than maybe with some dogs. Outside, you'll notice when I corrected her, she kind of did one of these. That's kind of where I want it usually. Sometimes I want a little more, sometimes I want a little less. But basically I want to see when I hit the e-collar that the dog does something. If I'm hitting the e-collar and the dog doesn't react at all, then I know I've got a problem with my level. Either my collar's not on, either it's not tight enough, or it's too low. I think that covers everything. Thank you for your business, and congratulations on your new puppy. I think you're going to have a fantastic time with her.